PPI, pixels per inch. So pixels as in plural, per inch as in the measurement we talked about earlier. So it's pixels to which is a thing that is digital within something physical, pixel per inch. So then, of course, you've started to look at the right here, and you maybe see the screen and you see the diagonal thing, and you're starting to think about, are we going to measure this diagonally? No, we're not, because it doesn't really matter. And I'm going to explain that to you quite thoroughly right now to see if you have any issues with this explanation. But I think you will find it quite easy. You can see, let's say that this is an inch. Now it's on a digital device and it doesn't really matter, really, but this is an inch. This is another inch. So we can have it's an inch wide and an inch high. This one is 1 inch high and 1 inch wide. So they're perfectly the same. Now, if I if I remove this one now and make a diagonal cut, and I'll try to spin this one to go there. Now, diagonally, is it as tall now? No, it isn't. So this distance is of course greater than an inch. So if I'm going to say how many pixels are going to fit in an inch, now it's not about being in diagonal or not. It's about measuring just exactly what I'm talking about, an inch. Okay? Whether it's you draw a line in diagonal count, it's 1 centimeter, or horizontally or vertically, so it's going to be 1 centimeter. So the distance here is an inch. The direction is not important. Now, the most common thing we do and the most practical is actually to measure the inches in one distance, like in, for example, for width. If you have it measured in width, now, then you know it's going to be the same in height. How do you know that? Because all pixels are square. None of them are rectangular. They're perfect squares. So if you know the pixel per inch in width, you know it in height. You can be totally comfortable in that. So I'm going to remove this one right over here. I'm going to look into what could this pixel per inch be then. To do that, I'm going to start to do a couple of things. First off, I'm going to imagine this is a screen. I'm going to create this screen over here and something like this. And I'm going to now step into some kind of things. I'm working in a program called Illustrator. So what I'm actually doing here is I'm going to, how do you say it? Do a couple of things. You don't need to know how to do this at all. This is just a way of visualizing what you're talking about. Now we no longer have this line over here. We can instead remove that one. That was just a measurement, a thing I used to measure. So you knew an inch. Now we can say, for example, let's say we make a really, really small screen. It's not a desktop device anymore. I'm going to spin it around and make it a mobile device. Like this. Something like that. Now, we're going to define our inch. Let's say the screen is, what could it be? Well, let's say it's I don't know how small this is, but let's say 3.6 inches or something like that, or 3 inches, just to be fair. So I'm going to make an inch here. For example, I'm going to take this one and I'm going to also apply this. It's within, cool. And then we'll see how many of these is going to fit 3. So like that. I think this will be almost correct. No, no. I was so wrong. Bear with me. It's going to be wrong still. I'm doing this like on the fly, you understand? But I think it's a good thing anyway to see me struggle doing things. But I'm happy if it's okay, just almost correct. And there you go. And then I can just make this one a bit larger to customize for my errors. So let's say that each of these are 1 inch tall and 1 inch wide. Now, what we're really talking about when you're saying pixels per inch is how many pixels that fits within this inch. The screen is 3 inches wide, but how many pixels fits within this one? So to deal with that particular problem, I'm going to make squares that are filled in, and I'm going to also make them, I think I'll make them red, just to make them clearer for all of you. Let's go down here. And let's make a square. And now imagine these are tightly connected, very closely to one another. So don't please pay any heed that there is going to be a distance between them. The distance between them is only there because I want to prove to you that they are separated. Maybe I should make that distance clearer with one of these. I think I'll do that. I'll take this one and I make that one black. And then I reduce the size very much. And I even make it smaller than that. So, and then I also put it on the inside. And then also black. Now, I think you can see this is our first pixel. We're going to talk about how many fits in here. How many fits within an inch. So I'm going to start to copy this one. I could do this in many different ways. I'm going to do it using something called transform. There you go. I think it's up here. Sorry. I was too quick there. So let's go ahead and say I'm going to transform. I'm going to make a couple of copies. I'm going to move them horizontally. And yes, something like this. And then I make more copies. You see, right now, we can say that comfortably, we can fit within an inch. We can fit, I count this, it sounds like we're going to have 34 red squares. And then it's 34 and somewhat a half or something like this in this part of the screen. So that's 34 PPI. Now, I know that you'll wonder, what is the common thing? Yeah, if you have a really old screen, you have 72 PPI, which means you can actually, within an inch of an old screen, side by side, place 72 pixels. So if you hold your an inch to your screen, if you lift one up right now and you have like some kind of ruler with inches on it, and you hold it to the screen, I can say that in the time that you're on that old screen measure from 0 to 1 inch, the representation for that will be done by 72 pixels. Now, if you have a newer screen, that measurement might be larger. And it depends also, not only if you have a newer screen, it depends on how the screens deal with these kind of things, which we will get into in the next video. But as you can see here, The resolution we were talked about earlier, there was how many pixels are there. The physical size for how many inches are there. Now, we are really talking about how compact the pixels are pressed into each inch. So why does that matter? Yeah, it really matters. If you look at, for example, a mobile phone versus a desktop device. So let's look into what I'm talking about. If I have a mobile phone over here, you might think that it has fewer pixels in it than the desktop. Well, in many cases, and actually in most of the cases, that is not true. A mobile phone has more, even though it's smaller. A reason for that is also kind of logical when you think about it. It's about the distance. The mobile phone would be experienced to be of less resolution if it didn't have more. It would be experienced at having less resolution, so less detail than a desktop would. And the reason is, as I said in the beginning, how far away you keep it from your eyes. The further away, we are less prone to see detail. Well, the closer you are, the more details you see. So if you had a device like a phone, which you keep fairly close to your eyes in comparison to a desktop screen, at least hopefully you do that, then it is going to show you, be demanding of the device. So that's why I have more actually pixels in width or in height and on a mobile. But now that's where we get into the perfect example. We have a smaller device, so fewer inches. Well, the size is smaller. Really, the physical size is smaller. But the resolution is higher because we have more pixels on it. Now, how do we measure the differences now? PPI. PPI is how many pixels fit within an inch. An inch is always the same. But the amount of pixels you fit within it, it's going to differ from device, depending on, for example, distance you watch it from. So this is really, really, really interesting, I think, because it's going to have impacts on all of your lives, whether or not you want it to. It's also going to impact forever. Every one of you is going to print something one day. When you print, you really, really, really need to ramp up the PPI. So if I watch something in 72 PPI here, now when I print, I need 300 or 350 PPI. So there's when you print stuff, you really need to crank up the resolution. Now, that's apart from this lecture, of course, because print is not what we're talking about. But just to say, it doesn't really only affect digital devices. Now, talking about devices, I think we're ready to step over into the next part, which is going to be device pixel ratio, and I'll see you there.